This presentation is a trial to show our idea about the fifth generation of smart cities. We call that city HSE Square City 2050. Throughout the years, the contribution from various technologies have assisted to crystallize the concept of smart cities. In the meanwhile, due to rapid urbanization, 6% of world's population is expected to live in cities by 2030 and more by 2050, which results in heavy strain on energy, transportation, water, buildings, and public spaces. For the time being, nations are looking for applying more technologies in their cities without paying attention toward their citizen comfort and prosperity. As researchers in the field of urban planning, we see comfort and prosperity for citizens is to let their smart cities more human, social, environmental, emotional cities by the year 2050. Jan Gill, a decade ago, said nothing in the world is more simple and cheaper than making cities that provide better life for people. Ali Bakr and Heidi Shahata said that the fifth generation of smart cities to maintain more comfortable and prosperous to people to live in. Fifth generation of smart cities facing challenges, the extreme usage of technologies in our daily life, the extreme neglect of human being health and comfort, the control of extra-large firms over global economy, the extreme usage of smartphones and tablets and their application, the race among firms to implement digital technologies in every single detail in their work, the Egyptian 2030 vision towards smart cities, and the pandemic COVID-19 and its impact on our daily life. Our new vision is that the fifth generation of 2050 of smart cities could be called HC, City 5G, based on human existence and respect three main milestones in his life: social, environmental, and emotional. To implement our new vision, we go through 3 steps process: what to do, how to do, and implement what we want to do to create new HC composite indicators based on human needs.
This presentation is divided into 4 parts. First, what is a smart city and smart as a word, its idea, its definitions, principles, and sectors. Secondly, a review breakthrough of smart cities and generations over the past decades. Third part, what is the composite indicator, how they established, and what is the steps to create composite indicator, then to form HC composite indicators based on human needs first, then technology and auxiliary factor. For 3, the composite indicators will be extracted to table form, be how to applied in a case study and extract the result and recommendation for them. Let's start with the first part, smart cities concept, ideas, and definitions. Okay, now we will talk about the meaning of smart city as a word and how the smart originated and what is the meaning of each letter in it. Smart stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. As for specific, objective clearly states, and anyone reading it can understand what will be done, and how will do it. Measurable for M, objective includes how the action will be measured. A for achievable, objective is realistic, given the realistic faced in the community. R for relevant, a relevant objective makes sense. Time-bound, every objective has a specific timeline for completion. Okay, now what is the sectors of smart cities? There are 5 sectors of smart cities: smart mobility, smart government, smart living, smart people, smart environment, and smart economy. These sectors enhance economic development and high quality of life. Okay, they all under the umbrella of technology as a centric key factor in the formation of a smart city. So it's a problem or main problem of formation of a smart city, which consists the ICT as a main sector. Now we will move to the second part of this presentation: breakthrough of smart cities, attributes and characteristics. Now, the foundations of smart cities definitions are based on governance, technological, social, and environmental factors. There are similar terms to smart city that add to the snout of the terminology related to this phenomenon. As mentioned, it comes from being confused with other similar terms, such as garden city, intelligent city, knowledge city, and smart city. That refers to a specific idea. So it's the most commonly used terms have broad mixed meanings. These terms refer to more specific and less comprehensive levels of the city, and so often include concept of smart city. Consequently, these parts review the history of the beginning of the generation of smart cities as essential part to reach the meaning of these synonyms. It aims to analyze the smart city and their interests and the meaning of a human-centric that most smart city like to come to the conclusion new definition of smart city 2050. Okay, now let's go to the journey of smart cities from the 18th century until now. Since the beginning of the 18th century, besides the history of cities, shown that the social, economic, and spatial structure of cities reflects basic production systems. These visions link to the future of cities with the stately utopia of future mechanical era, inspired by the latest development in science and industry. For 19th century, which called the technology-driven world. The first coherent ideas about the future of society, the economic and urban settlement emerged under the influence of advanced technology in 1850, which was illustrated by E. Howard in 1898 in his book The Garden Cities of Tomorrow. Then the Bauhaus movement from 1919 to 1932 in Germany drew some of its ideas from the concept of mass industrial production. In 1936, Second World War was a period during which construction and vision for the future substance, widely known as the New Towns movement. Using new building materials and the idea of humanity became the beginning of dramatic change under the influence of technological development. So the start of first generation smart cities. At this point, city officials are focusing on technological solutions as enabling factors for improving the quality of life. Planners' efforts to highlight cities' platforms has resulted in a study of how information flows affect the built environment. The most well-known works Plug-in City and Walking City, as shown. In the 1980s, The idea of city devices with network led to the generations of wired city and other related concepts such as electronic city, information city, smart cities, digital cities, and virtual cities. Most of these concepts represent a vision of what cities might look like in the distant future, the past quality of what was possible at this time. The rapid technological change of that era has, for the first time, enabled the information and communication technologies, making them a part of everyday life. After 1991, began to think about linking technology as an essential factor in cities. So they started thinking about it at the beginning to launch the second generation of smart cities and the beginning of the emergence of digital cities through fully information city. On the expansion of technology and its uses mainly in a human movement until the year of 2000s. This period is considered a period called the death of distance. Why? So the internet will allow people to access all goods and services from anywhere in the world. With the beginnings of 2005, which is considered the third generation of smart cities and the beginning of the idea of smart city toward sustainability, but on a technological basis such as Master City in Emirates. From 2005 to the present time, 2021, the fourth generation was began. Sorry. A change and the beginning of thought began to improve human life, but there are many trends to improve human life first based on technological development as an offer as a human requirement. As shown, 2020, the discovery of the emergence of fourth generation smart cities in Egypt, like as Alamein city and a new administrative capital city in Cairo. After clarifying the development of smart cities and the stages of this century, it can be said that since the beginning of the formation of cities, its main goal was acquire technology and raise the urban economy at every stage with neglect and aspects from city design discussions. With focused on the physical aspects and industrial purpose alone of the culture of knowledge. It is relevant that smart cities are usually the problem related to the lack of social infrastructure and market constructions gradually became under the influence of the technology until technology's peak. Its peak in the 20th and 21st century. As mentioned, it's called death of distance. With neglected human beings, technology became a human engine, not the other way around, but it ended the impact of future technology on humans in this way until today's arrival. Technology began to threaten humans, but before smart cities to make everything driven by technology. Um, so from 1850 to the last appearance of 2007 through the previous stations and the most important where smart cities appeared to the year 2050 fifth generations for the birth of a new smart city. Shown table presents the summary of the generations of smart cities since the beginning of digital architecture and thinking about it until our time when technology is enabled in buildings until it has become smart technological cities. And what are the elements of generations from the second generation to the fifth generation of smart cities, which call HSE Square City? The third part talks about HSEE City Composite Indicators, which is a new vision. Composite indicators are used with the set of variables needed to evaluate a particular dimension. They are very common in areas such as economic and commercial statistics, as OECD composite of lead indicators, and are used in a variety of policy areas such as sustainable development, quality of life assessment, globalization, innovation, or academic performance, among other things. Composite indicators are much like mathematical models. This includes the following. First, input. The indicator models, also called indicator, represent substructures because they have the same measurement properties as groups. Second, output. When playing, it leads to one record for each building instance, for example, individual or annual company and operations between them. Okay, now what is the procedures to constructing a composite indicators? It is necessary to build a compound for what is the ideal sequences from developing a theoretical framework to providing and deploying a composite indicators. As shown in figure, these steps can be summarized in 10 points. First, theoretical framework. A theoretical framework should be developed to provide the basis for the selection and for the selection of single indicators into a meaningful composite indicator under a fitness for purpose principle. Second, data selection indicators should be selected on the basis of their analytical soundness, measurability, country coverage, relevance for the phenomenon being measured, and relationship to each other. Third, imputation of missing data. Consideration should be given to different approaches for imputing missing values. Fourth, multivariate analysis. An exploratory analysis should investigate the overall structure of the indicators, assess the suitability of the data set, and explain the methodological choices. 5. Normalization. Indicators should be normalized to render them comparable. 6th point, weighting and aggregation. Indicators should be aggregated and weighted according to the underlying theoretical framework. 7. Sensitivity analysis should be undertaken to assess the sensitivity of the composite indicator. 8. Back to the real data. Composite indicators should be transparent and fit to be into their underlying indicators or values. Then they are linked to above mentioned variables. 9. Attempts should be made to correlate the composite indicator with each other or with other. Last, presentation and visualization. Composite indicators can be presented in a number of different ways, which can influence their performance. Okay, let's explore vision of HSEE City 2050. Technology is not the basis for smart cities success, but it is a adjunct catalyst for the success of factors. However, it was the basis of smart cities at the level of previous years. It is important for each city to create a unique structural vision or vision for its smart city. Therefore, the future of cities 2050 focuses on human factors in the presence of the smart cities, foundations, and technological factors, which is represented by social, environmental, as well as human goals and human emotion and behavior to reach a composite indicator HSEE 2050 as shown in the diagram. Okay, the HSEE City 2050, called HSE Square indicators, are broad targets for the entire world. It addresses the basic dimension of the fifth generation of smart cities and their implications for people's lives. In addition, it attacks the pressing issues to reduce the technology affected and the diseases used in smart cities. Composite indicators HSEE were chosen to monitor progress in achieving the corresponding goals. The following steps are for building the HSEE city composite indicators. First, concept based on the human factors to measure the smart city and determine if it's a fifth generation city HSEE 2050 or not. Second, determine the subgroups of indicator. It includes the composite indicator human key as the key factor, which includes three subgroups. S means the social factor, E applies to the environmental factor, E applies to the emotion as a new factor. For clarity, HSEE indicators interact with each other to form powerful indicators that have an impact on the formation of smart cities. Appropriate indicators have been selected to monitor progress in composite objectives and achieve corresponding objectives. A list of 6 goals and 18 indicators consistent with these goals ensure the best assessment of smart cities, as shown how indicators interact with others to produce 4 basic composite indicators, namely: first, human social environment, human social emotions, social environmental emotion, last human environmental emotions. These indicators produce 6 corresponding goals, are divided into 18 composite indicators that will be measured on the smart city to assess as an HSEE city. Therefore, each indicator was chosen with the other according to the importance of each of them to other and its association with the phenomenon considered, as well as according to the extent to which it can be analyzed, its accessibility, and its most importantly the output of the composition of each composite indicator and the importance for human in the formation of city. Okay, now data collection process. Before entering into the analysis of HSEE City 2050 composite indicators, it is necessary to understand the data collection process conducted to obtain these indicators, which are divided into 3 groups. Group A, indicators from surveys, including population surveys and multi-indicator cluster surveys. Category B, indicators taken from other sources, published studies from government institutional such as NGOs and conferences. Group C use informed assessments by the researcher and small groups of experts on topic, issue, and study information. Okay, what the weighting and aggregation for the HSEE composite indicators. In the indicators of the generation of smart cities, 18 sub-indicators were applied, where each indicator was weighted according to its degree of importance and the frequency of scientific research and its indicators as shown. The methodology used to determine the weight of a single indicator is strongly required. They are indicators that have not been found in other research and are very important for the fifth generation city that can be measured in weight from 6 to 8. Required that are indicators that must be present, some of which have been mentioned in the research, such as indicators of quality of life, sustainability, and environment. But non-aggregated from these indicators are evaluated from 3 to 6. Flexible, they are indicators that is better to have, and some of them were mentioned in the research individually rather not composite. The composite indicators are considered to be in the city, and these indicators are evaluated from 1 to 3. Okay, the following table shows the indicators and the objectives of HSEE City 2050, which includes column 1 contains the main composite goals, column 2 the composite goals opposite the main goals determines the basic needs of a human in fifth generation smart cities. Column 3 determines the 18 composite indicators for each target. Column 4 determines data type. Column 5 determines indicator weight.
Again, our vision of fifth generation of Smart Cities 2050 is not based on ICT, but it focuses more on human being and the social, environmental, emotional life of him or her. The fifth generation of smart cities could be assumed like the following equation: HSE square CT 5G, where H means human factors, S means social spectrum, E2 means E environmental factors, and E emotional factors. 5G means fifth generation. Thank you for paying attention to hear our presentation about the fifth generation of Smart Cities 2050. Thank you, thank you, thank you.